One of the most influential and powerful Necron overlords in the eastern fringe of the Ultima Segmentum was the Pharaoh Ahmontekh, the Crimson Scythe. Long before the Necrons entered their Great Sleep, Ahmontekh led the Subdakar dynasty and was one of the most feared Necron warriors in the War in Heaven. He conquered world after world in what is currently the Jericho Reach. So powerful was this overlord that tales of his destructive powers are still told in the ancient legends of the Eldari. The mystic cycle singers make references to a Crimson Scythe capable of destroying planets with a single blow. This was in fact Ahmontekh, who shattered the planet of Maldek into billions of chunks with the powers of his great war scythe. So potent were the powers wielded by Ahmontekh that even at the side of the Catan, the Necron Lord created just as much destruction as these godlike parasites. It is even said that Ahmontekh and his legions of Necron warriors completely exterminated the ancient warrior race known to the Old Ones as the Nuada. In his thirst for blood, Ahmontekh and his legion pursued the Old Ones and their Eldar servants into the Webway with the intention of slaughtering the beings that the Eldari viewed as gods. And while the Overlord succeeded in murdering one of the Old Ones in front of the ancient Eldar, the glory of victory was stolen by Ahmontekh's cousin, Seti, of the Karnovak dynasty. Seti and his forces were successful in engaging the ancient Eldar, defending the Webway and protecting their masters, but this breach in martial protocol enraged the Crimson Scythe as he confronted his cousins after the battle. The Karnovak dynasty ignored the cries of anger from Ahmontekh and continued to push forward in their hunt for the retreating Old Ones and their warrior races. This bitterness would not leave the mind of the Crimson Scythe, however, and when the Crimson King set in motion his plan for the Great Sleep, Ahmontekh's anger was so great that it never truly allowed his essence to slumber during the 60 million years. His bitterness coalesced at the core of his being, and the existence of the once feared rival of the Eldari might have gone undiscovered were it not for the actions of the command program tasked with watching over the dynasty's crown world as it slumbered through the eons. As the program watched vigilantly over its silent charges, it detected a signal. Usually, the system ignored such things, for they were invariably the incoherent ramblings of lesser species screaming their existence into the void, ignorant of the doom they were calling down upon themselves. In this case, however, the signal was familiar and aimed specifically at the Crown World. It was a message from another dynasty, and it bore the glyph seal of the Karnovak dynasty. As ancient engrams flared into being for the first time in eons, the program set about a limited awakening process seeking to tap into the lowest orders of its master's consciousness in order to prepare him for what was to come. In the meantime, the program decrypted the message and discovered it to be a plea for aid from the Karnovak dynasty's ruling court. The rival house's domains were being ravaged by an alien race descended upon the galaxy from the depths of intergalactic space, and already countless of its holdings had fallen to the Tyranids. The Crimson Scythe's hated rivals were being besieged and beleaguered, and were willing to offer anything in return for deliverance from their plight. Logic paths blazed and stasis seals parted as the control program delivered the news to the lower mimetic orders of the slumbering Pharaoh's soulless consciousness. The result was unfortunately devastating. The instant the eon-long seals were broken, 60 million years of distilled bitterness for the senders of the message burst through layers upon layers of failsafe protocols, and the feedback surged unchecked through the entire system. Countless thousands of slumbering Necrons had their cortexes blasted by Ahmontekh's rage, even though he was still partially unconscious. The last process the Crown World's control program enacted before its own logic gates were overwhelmed was to instigate a backup protocol. Even as it perished, one line of the monolithic code at a time, the program sealed off the Pharaoh's stasis crypt and selected a regent who would rule in his stead. As the empty tomb world resounded to the last of Ahmontekh's rage, his newly appointed regent awoke to find himself alone and unexpectedly on the throne of an entire Necron dynasty. All that Ahmontekh had once been was gone, consumed over the eons by his own hatred, even as the last residual of himself looked on helplessly. Perhaps had the Necrons not sold their soul to the Catan, something of him might have survived to fight back against the raging bitterness within, but it was not to be. Now the Crimson Scythe of old is no more, and that distilled essence of his resentment for his own cousin dynasty is all that remains of his consciousness. To the detriment of the Necrons of the entire dynasty, there is far more locked up inside the living metal cranium of the slumbering Pharaoh than the Overlord Regent, Ahmontekh, or most of his cryptex are aware. The Regent understands that hidden in the mind of the crippled pharaoh is the entire dynasty's command protocols, along with the blueprint of not only the tomb world of the Hallowed Sun, but an entire network of tomb worlds throughout the Jericho Reach. Unbeknownst to the Regent, however, his most trusted counselor, Oskan the Codifer, has caught a glimpse of something an order of magnitude greater even than the miracle of the stellar engineering that is the dynasty's magnificent crown world. At first, Oskan believed that the Pharaoh had the flare virus, but after receiving the dark visions of the future, the Codifer realized that because the Crimson Scythe had slain one of the gods and laid waste to a vast tract of the webway, the Eldar would never rest until he was hunted down. The Starslayer knew that the Eldar, or their heirs, would stand eternal vigil over any region they believed might harbor his secret resting place, so he set in motion certain contingencies to ensure that when he awoke, the Eldar would be overwhelmed, and attention to any other watchers would be drawn away from the Hollow Sun long enough for all of his serried legions to fully awaken. A silver tide would consume the Jericho Reach, and no Eldar, Tau, or an Imperial alliance could fend off the fury of the Necrons. Others believe that Ahmontekh is one of the few pharaohs that knew exactly what the Silent King had intended for the Necrons when they fully awoke. It was his belief, and the belief of all pharaohs, that the Necrons should rule over the galaxy, and just in case the warrior races of the Old Ones were still around, the galaxy-shattering powers of the Necron dynasties would awaken, and a unified protocol would crush all life from the galaxy. Regardless of what is truly hidden in the mind of Ahmontekh, the Ordo Xenos is paying close attention to the existence of this dormant threat. The Death Watch has found a chapter in the Forbidden Tome that is the derelict lexicon that claims that a crippled king will rise just as he has risen on several occasions throughout the ages, released by the hand of some unknown secret ally within his household. While some Imperial savants believe this to be a demon prince of chaos, more intelligent minds understand that it is the Crimson Scythe that has arisen from his tomb and will cause tremendous havoc. The mystery of the Pharaoh Ahmontekh will continue to baffle the Inquisition and the Death Watch that work within the Jericho Reach. What I found the most interesting about this story is the Pharaoh's connection to the Silent King. Now I'm going to give you a little bit of backstory to the Silent King. The Silent King actually left the galaxy along or right after the Old Ones left. He actually felt bad that he cursed his entire Necron tier race to becoming Necrons, to becoming enslaved, and then on top of that to being like soulless beings. So in his shame, he left the galaxy right when the Enslaver Plague was going on. He told his Necrons to go into the Great Sleep, and on his way to wherever his destination was, he saw the high fleets of the Tyranids, and he came back into the galaxy. In the current 42nd millennium, supposedly he is still around in the galaxy. He's trying to awaken his Necron dynasties, or the theory is that he is trying to enact some type of protocol that he had as a kind of safety net, whereas if the warrior races did somehow survive the Enslaver Plague and they were controlling the galaxy like they are now, he would enact this protocol and he would awaken everybody at once, and they would unleash some type of devastating or deadly galactic superpower that would destroy the warrior races. Obviously, it's not the warrior races that he has to worry about. It is actually the Tyranids that are crossing the great void of the galaxy and entering the Milky Way galaxy. So it's interesting to hear about Ahmontekh and his possible understanding of this unifying protocol that maybe the Silent King is trying to enact. I don't know if GW is actually going to continue with that part of the story. It seems like the Silent King is going to take a back seat, and they're just going to give us more details on individual characters. But time will tell what they actually do. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, share it with your friends on Facebook, Reddit, whatever social media you guys use. Thank you guys so much for listening, and thank our patrons. It is because of them that we can do this. Link in the description if you guys want to support us. But with that said, I will talk to you guys tomorrow. This was Gershwan with One Mind Syndicate, signing out.
Always used to put my freedom first in any situation.